In the year 2226, humanity had scattered across the solar system like luminous dust. We lived in colossal structures, metal marvels that pierced the void of space. The station where our story begins was one such marvel, a giant metal skyscraper in constant orbit, a city of countless levels, with gardens that floated weightlessly, and avenues made of pure light. This is the story of Cinderella, but not the one you remember from fairy tales. Despite all the technological magic surrounding her, Cinderella's life was anything but magical. She lived in the station's lower levels, a world of humming machinery and cold metal. Every day she woke up among a fleet of cleaning drones and mechanical arms, all awaiting her skilled maintenance. Her only companion was the faint glow of distant nebulae filtering through the reinforced viewport. Her dress, woven from old LED fabric, flickered with the weariness of the years, its colors dull and inconsistent. But her eyes held a different kind of light, a reflection of dreams that even the vast emptiness of space couldn't extinguish. Far above her, in the shining upper levels of the station, her stepmother and two stepsisters lived a life of blinding luxury. Up there, extravagance had lost all meaning because everything was already excessive. They glided through holographic corridors, always accompanied by a personal robot attendant. Their every move captured by floating cameras for their space social networks. They were celebrities in their own bubble, their lives a constant performance. And Cinderella, she moved like a shadow behind them, a ghost in her own home, her presence as unnoticed as a glitch in the station's oldest software. She was the one who kept their world running smoothly, yet she remained completely invisible. One day a message illuminated every screen, every billboard, every holographic display across the entire station. It was a royal proclamation, broadcast from the outer planetary systems. The prince of the great colony was inviting residents from all orbits to a grand ball. It was to be held in the legendary Space Palace, a breathtaking structure built on a translucent platform that filtered the sun's light through massive crystal lenses, making it seem as if the palace itself was made of starlight. The prince's message was unusual. He wasn't looking for a princess. He was looking for a partner, someone who wouldn't be impressed by titles or wealth, but by the immense responsibilities of leadership and the future they could build together. A jolt went through Cinderella's heart, a sudden, powerful surge of longing. The ball. A night of weightless dancing among the stars. But a glance at her worn-out, flickering dress brought her crashing back to reality. It was a painful reminder of her place, a barrier as solid as the station's hull. She had the spirit for it, the intelligence, the heart, but she didn't have the dress. There was no room for her in a world of starlight and crystal palaces. That night, resigned to her fate, Cinderella was working late in a dark, forgotten warehouse, a graveyard of old circuits and discarded tech. As she sorted through a pile of obsolete processors, a faint hum began to emanate from a dusty, monolithic server in the corner. An ancient system, dormant for decades, flickered to life. It was a forgotten AI, a relic from the station's early days. Accessing archived data, the AI recognized Cinderella from old family records. From a time before her life had been reduced to servitude. It saw her quiet diligence, her untapped potential, and it decided that the system needed a correction. It was time to intervene. In a cascade of shimmering data and nanite activity, her old LED dress was deconstructed and then rebuilt, molecule by molecule. It was as if it were being woven by a swarm of tiny, captured stars. The result was an anti-gravity garment, alive with light. Thousands of tiny, radiant crystals floated around her in a gentle, mesmerizing orbit, glowing and dimming in tune with her heartbeat. Her worn-out boots were transformed to taboo became thin, holographic shoes that shimmered with an ethereal light. But this was more than just a cosmetic upgrade. They were equipped with localized magnetic repulsors, giving her the ability to fly, to leap across vast distances in near-zero gravity. The AI delivered a single clear warning through a soft, synthesized voice. This magic was temporary, powered by a finite energy source. It would all vanish with the turning of the day at the station's designated midnight. The Space Palace was even more magnificent than the broadcasts had shown. Giant platforms hung suspended in the void, like a chain of luminous islands floating in an endless sea of stars. Guests in dazzling attire flew between these glowing nodes using personal jet boots, leaving glittering trails of luminous dust in their wake. The air buzzed with laughter and the ethereal music of synth harps. Then Cinderella appeared. She didn't walk in, she descended like a comet. Her dress didn't just sparkle, it pulsed with a life of its own, the cloud of crystals swirling around her like a personal planetary system. Each step she took was a graceful, low-gravity flight, her feet barely touching the crystalline floor. The entire ballroom fell silent. The prince, who until that moment had been observing the spectacle with polite indifference, saw her, and in that instant he felt as if the fundamental laws of physics had changed. It wasn't the station's artificial gravity that shifted, but the gravity of his own world, pulling him inexorably toward her. They met in the center of the grandest platform. Without a word, they began to dance. But this was no ordinary waltz. They floated, they flew, they orbited each other, rising higher than everyone else. Their movements a perfect, synchronized ballet in the vastness of space. The other guests, with their clunky jet boots, struggled to even follow their ascent. It was as if Cinderella and the prince were speaking a silent language of light and motion, two souls recognizing the same brilliant glow in each other. Their connection was immediate, bright and undeniably real. They talked for hours, not about titles or colonies, but about stars, about responsibility, about the future of humanity. And then chaos erupted. Alarms blared, red lights flashed across the Crystal Palace. A fleet of unregistered ships decloaked at the station's perimeter, space pirates. They launched an assault, their goal to plunder the station's core for its ancient, invaluable technology. Panic swept through the ball. Guests scrambled for cover, their glittering outfits suddenly useless. But Cinderella and the prince reacted instantly. They didn't run, they fought. Using her anti-gravity shoes, Cinderella became a blur of motion. She flew between incoming energy blasts, leaping from platform to platform as if she were parkouring on a string of tiny moons. Her dress, now shining with intense brilliance, acted as a defensive shield, its bright flashes blinding the attackers and causing their targeting systems to fail. From the cockpit of his royal ship, the prince provided support, firing precise energy beams that created glowing pathways for her in the darkness of space, cutting off the pirates' advance. Together, they were a perfect team, turning the tide of the battle. They moved with an instinctual harmony, protecting the station and everyone on it. But amidst the chaos, a chime echoed in Cinderella's era final warning from the AI. The station's midnight was approaching. The magic was fading. With the pirate threat neutralized but not entirely gone, she knew she had to leave. In the confusion, she flew toward the lower-level access ports, a silent, streaking star disappearing back into the shadows. In her haste, as she landed on a service gantry, one of her holographic shoes dematerialized slightly, its magnetic field faltering, and it slipped from her foot, left behind on the cold metal floor. The prince, having secured the palace, rushed to find her, but she was gone. All that remained was the single, shimmering shoe. But this was no glass slipper. It was a piece of advanced technology. The prince's technicians analyzed its internal sensor data, the unique energy signature, the biometric feedback, the residual flight path data. He wasn't looking for a bride to fit a shoe. He was using 23rd century technology to find the brilliant, brave woman who had saved them all. He wanted to find her, not to claim her, but to ask her, to partner with her, to stand beside her. The search led him not to a grand estate in the upper levels, but to the maintenance decks in the station's underbelly. When he found her, she was back in her worn LED dress, calibrating a cleaning drone. There was no ball gown, no floating crystals. But he didn't need any of that. He looked past the grease stains and the flickering fabric and saw her eyes, the same eyes that had shone with determination and courage in the heat of battle, the same eyes that had sparkled with intelligence as they discussed the future of the stars. He recognized her instantly. A few months later, their wedding took place not in a palace, but on the command deck of the largest exploratory starship ever built, witnessed by representatives from every corner of the solar system. Cinderella became a princess, yes, but not because she wore a crown or married a prince. She earned her place because she possessed a spirit that shone brighter than any star, a heart braver than any warrior, and a soul that could light up the darkest corners of the galaxy. And together they set a new course, not just for themselves, but for all of humanity, toward a future they would build among the stars. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this futuristic fairy tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from the world of tomorrow. See you next time.